She hired a hitman to kill her. At 22 years old, with the world already calling her beautiful, Angelina Jolie tried to pay someone to end her own life. 2 years earlier, at 19, she had already planned to take it herself. She spent 72 hours locked in a psychiatric ward after a breakdown. She cut her own skin with blades just to feel something real. This is the same woman who would go on to become an Academy Award winner, a United Nations Special Envoy, and the woman Time magazine credited with saving thousands of lives just by talking about her own body. If you think you know Angelina Jolie's story because you've seen her on a red carpet, you don't. The real story starts in the dark, and it doesn't let go until the very last line. Angelina Jolie Voigt was born on June 4, 1975, at Cedars-Sinai Hospital in Los Angeles. Her father, John Voigt, was a famous actor, and her mother, Markellen Bertrand, had once been an actress herself before giving up her career to raise her children. When Angelina was barely a year old, her parents separated. Her relationship with her father remained distant from the start. Their meetings were rare and mostly took place in front of cameras. As a child, she watched movies with her mother, and it was there, not her father's success, that her love for acting was born. School life wasn't easy either. At Beverly Hills High School, she felt like an outsider among wealthier classmates because her mother's income was modest. She was teased for being extremely thin and for wearing glasses and braces. Attempts at modeling failed. Eventually she switched schools and became a punk outsider, dressing in black, going to mosh pits, even engaging in knife play with her boyfriend. At 16, after that relationship ended, she graduated high school and moved into her own apartment, living entirely on her own. But beneath the surface, something was quietly falling apart. Angelina found it difficult to emotionally connect with others, and as a result, she self-harmed. She once said the ritual of cutting herself and feeling the pain gave her a strange kind of relief, a way of feeling alive. Insomnia, disordered eating, and eventually drugs followed. By the age of 20, she had tried nearly every drug imaginable, especially heroin. Twice she planned suicide, once at 19, and again at 22, when she even tried to hire a hitman to kill her. At 24, after a nervous breakdown, she was admitted to the psychiatric ward at UCLA Medical Center for 72 hours. This was the broken young woman who would go on to become one of the most influential figures in the world. Her acting career began at 16, but early auditions kept failing. Casting directors said she seemed too dark. She appeared in her brother James Haven's student films, a handful of music videos, and landed her first lead role in 1993's Cyborg 2, a film that disappointed her so much she didn't audition again for a year. The 1995 film Hackers finally gave her a breakthrough, and on that set she fell in love with actor Johnny Lee Miller, who became her first husband. At their wedding, she wrote his name on her own skin in her own blood, a marriage that lasted barely a year. The real turning point came in 1997 and 1998. Her role in George Wallace won her a first Golden Globe, and then came HBO's Gia, in which she played a supermodel whose life spirals into heroin addiction and death from AIDS. She immersed herself so deeply in the role that once filming wrapped, she said she felt she had nothing left to give. That same year, she starred in Playing by Heart alongside Sean Connery and won the Breakthrough Performance Award from the National Board of Review. In 1999, her performance as the sociopathic Lisa in Girl, Interrupted made the world realize this actress belonged in a different league entirely. She won the Academy Award, the Golden Globe, and the Screen Actors Guild Award for that single role. Then came the era when Angelina became Hollywood's most expensive and most watched actress. In 2001, Lara Croft, Tomb Raider turned her into a global action star. It was during that shoot, in war-torn Cambodia, that she witnessed the reality of a refugee crisis with her own eyes for the first time, a moment that permanently changed the direction of her life. As soon as she returned home, she contacted the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees, and in February 2001 completed her first field mission to Sierra Leone and Tanzania. Soon after, she donated $1 million to UNHCR, the largest donation the agency had ever received from a private individual. Over the next decade, she went on more than 40 field missions across over 30 countries, from Sudan's Darfur region to the Syrian-Iraqi border, from Kabul in war-torn Afghanistan to the world's forgotten emergencies that media attention had long abandoned. In 2012, she was named UNHCR Special Envoy, the first person ever to hold that role. She continued the work until 2022, when she stepped down from the ambassadorship but pledged to keep advocating for refugees. Alongside all this, her film career kept climbing. In Mr. and Mrs. Smith, 2005, her on-screen chemistry with Brad Pitt led the media to blame her for the collapse of his marriage to Jennifer Aniston, a scandal that filled tabloid headlines for years. The media dubbed their relationship Brangelina, and for 12 years, they were one of the most watched couples on the planet. They had 6 children together, 3 adopted and 3 biological. Maddox came from Cambodia, Zahara from Ethiopia, and Pax from Vietnam, while Shiloh and twins Knox and Vivian were born to the couple. They married in 2014, separated in 2016, and were declared legally divorced in 2019, a divorce in which Jolie later alleged that Pitt had physically and verbally abused her and their children aboard a private plane in 2016. But the most astonishing turn in Angelina's story came in 2013. She discovered she carried a defective BRCA1 gene that gave her an 87% risk of developing breast cancer. Her mother had battled breast cancer before dying of ovarian cancer, and her grandmother had also died of ovarian cancer. At just 37, Angelina underwent a preventive double mastectomy, and then did something that became a landmark moment in modern medicine. She wrote about her surgery herself, in an op-ed for the New York Times, sharing it with the entire world. 2 years later, she also had her ovaries removed, triggering early menopause. Her goal was simple: she didn't want any other woman to face the same silent fear her mother had endured alone. The impact was enormous. BRCA gene testing referrals doubled and even tripled across several countries, a phenomenon the media came to call the Angelina Effect. Today, at 51, Angelina Jolie's journey is far from over. She built a reputation as a director, from In the Land of Blood and Honey to Unbroken, First They Killed My Father, and Without Blood, each film carrying her deep understanding of war-torn societies and a distinctly humanitarian lens. Her 2024 film Without Blood, based on Alessandro Baricco's novel, starred Salma Hayek and Damien Bichir, and she also produced the Broadway musical The Outsiders, which won the Tony Award for Best Musical. In Pablo Larraín's Maria, her portrayal of opera singer Maria Callas was called a career best performance and earned her another Golden Globe nomination. She has openly criticized Israel's military actions in Gaza, visited children affected by war in Lviv, Kherson, and Mykolaiv, Ukraine, and in January 2026 traveled to the Rafah border crossing to assess the delivery of humanitarian aid into Gaza. Angelina's public image itself has traveled a long road. In the 1990s, the media painted her as a wild child, headlines obsessed over blood, knives, drugs, and her bisexuality. When she kissed her brother James on the lips while accepting her Oscar for Girl, Interrupted and said she was so in love with him, it sparked incest rumors she later dismissed, explaining that as children of divorce, she and her brother had simply always leaned on each other for emotional support. But as her work with UNHCR deepened, her public image transformed. At 26, upon becoming a Goodwill ambassador, she said she now took the same rebellious spirit from her 20s to Washington to fight for causes that mattered. By 2006, 81% of Americans recognized her, up from just 31% in 2000. Her influence reached beyond humanitarian work into fashion and beauty. Vogue, People, and Vanity Fair repeatedly named her the most beautiful woman in the world, and her tattoos, eyes, and especially her lips became a look women across the globe sought through cosmetic surgery. Her black Versace gown at the 2012 Academy Awards became so iconic it turned into an internet meme. Over her career, she has won an Academy Award, 3 Golden Globe Awards, 2 Screen Actors Guild Awards, and a Tony Award, and in 2013 she received the Jean Hersholt Humanitarian Award, an honor reserved for those who turn fame into service. This is the real story of Angelina Jolie, a girl who once hurt herself, who once considered ending her life, who spent time in a psychiatric ward, and who grew into one of history's most influential humanitarians, an Oscar-winning actress, an accomplished filmmaker, and a beacon of hope for countless women. Her story teaches us that falling apart isn't the end. Sometimes it's exactly that breaking, that pain, that gives a person the strength to change the world. Angelina Jolie's journey isn't just about Hollywood's shine, it's the story of a real human trial, of finding the courage to turn darkness into light, and perhaps that's exactly why her story never lets you look away, because at every turn, there's a new lesson, a new wound, and a new will to survive.